Joining me now to discuss this is Josh Hammer. He's a senior counsel at the Article 3 Project. Josh, welcome to Washington Watch. It's an honor to have you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wow, we have a lot to cover. As you know, even as we may have seen this coming, the results still feel shocking when it actually happens. Tell us your reaction.
Yeah, I would echo that on both sides. So many people saw this coming. You know, personally, I thought that a hung jury was slightly likelier than a conviction, but I thought it was basically neck and neck. I thought that there may be one of the two lawyers in the jury pool. The two of the jurors were actually lawyers. I thought maybe one of them might start asking some very basic rudimentary questions here, such as what is the actual predicate offense? You know, Jody, as you mentioned in your opening monologue, this was a 34-count misdemeanor indictment, but the only way that Alvin Bragg, the Soros-funded prosecutor, purported to get around the statute of limitations issue while simultaneously hiking it from a misdemeanor to a felony, the only way that he was able to accomplish that was by tacking on an in furtherance of additional offense. And we literally never learned what that was until earlier this week. You know, I'm a lawyer by background. I clerked for a federal appeals judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. I have never seen anything like this in the entire history of my life, certainly following cases as closely as I have. And it's just shocking. It is really shocking. I mean, insert your adjective of choice. It's horrific. It is repugnant, frankly. And unfortunately, this is just where we are. And, you know, I've heard a lot of chatter over the past 24 hours that say, oh, it's just Donald Trump. They're not actually coming for conservatives. They're not actually coming for traditionalists, religious people, all the various people that Hillary Clinton infamously referred to as the so-called deplorables back in 2016. Well, I have news for those folks. They actually are coming for all of us. Let's go back as far as the Obama administration, back when the Obama administration put the prosecutorial apparatus of the Eric Holder-led DOJ on the nuns of the Little Sisters of the Poor, just because they didn't want to get involved in subsidizing abortifacients as part of Obamacare. The left has been doing this nakedly out in the open for a very long time now. And, you know, it is shocking that we are here. They have crossed many Rubicons at this point, not just one Rubicon, but this is it. This is reality, and we have to deal with it the best we can.
Yeah, and what's the crime? I mean, do we really know what the crime is that supposedly was committed?
No, we really don't. So what happened was, I host two shows, one of which is called America on Trial with Josh Hammer. It's a daily legal show. So I follow the legal stuff very closely. You know, I learned, as I'm sure the rest of the world learned, what Alvin Bragg's theory of the case was when the jury instructions came out earlier this week around Tuesday or so. And, you know, even the jury instructions were outrageously convoluted. It apparently took Judge Merchan in that courtroom 1 hour to actually read the jury instructions to the 12 jurors. Jody, how the heck can a juror possibly be expected to understand the law and then try to apply the law to the facts of a case if it takes an hour for the judge to even read the jury instructions? Like I said, I'm a lawyer. I probably wouldn't even know what to do if I heard jury instructions that lasted 1 hour. But what happened was, we finally learned on Tuesday that the in furtherance of this underlying predicate offense that I was alluding to earlier, they essentially said that it could be one of three possibilities. So it could have been New York State fraudulent bookkeeping in furtherance of a Federal Campaign Finance Act violation, which the prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, doesn't even have jurisdiction to bring that charge because he's a local prosecutor, can't bring a federal offense. The second alleged in furtherance of unlawful means was a federal tax violation. Same thing. He doesn't have jurisdiction to bring that, and unclear to me how we even get into a tax violation to begin with from the underlying facts. And then the third possible unlawful means was that the fraudulent bookkeeping was actually in furtherance of additional fraudulent bookkeeping. So a bit of circular logic there. And the most outrageous part of all of this, and that was already a lot of outrageous stuff that I said there, but probably the single most outrageous part of all of this was that the judge, Juan Merchan, in his jury instructions apparently said that the jurors did not actually have to reach unanimity when it came to which of those unlawful means. Put another way, 4 people could say, oh, it was actually a campaign finance violation. 4 could say, oh, it was a tax violation. And then 4 could say it was an additional bookkeeping misdemeanor. That's not how it works. That's literally just not how it works. You have to have a unanimous jury conviction or acquittal here. I mean, going back to my first year of law school, criminal law, that's just literally not how it works. So this thing is a total farce, and I think that good-hearted Americans have to hope and indeed pray that it gets reversed on appeal.
Absolutely. And you add all of this. Here's Prosecutor Alvin Bragg. He ran for office on the campaign promise to target Trump. And then you have the voters who elected him are sitting there on the jury. I mean, how does any reasonable person draw any conclusion other than suspicion in this?
I really don't know. It is a very, very, very good question. Alvin Bragg did run for office on a Get Trump platform. By the way, so did Tish James, the New York State Attorney General, who is separately bringing this ridiculous civil lawsuit against the Trump organization for hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. That's also pending appeal. There's an obscure constitutional provision in Article 1 called Bill of Attainders. The Founding Fathers banned what was known as Bills of Attainder. And Bills of Attainder, back in English common law, it was actually a practice abused by the monarch more so than the British Parliament. A Bill of Attainder was you wouldn't actually proscribe, prohibit, mandate a certain conduct neutrally for the whole subject, the whole citizenry. What you would actually do is you would name an individual who would be brought before the Star Chamber or some other tribunal and then pay for his alleged sins. This is very much kind of the Stalinist mantra from the 1930s of show me the man and I will find you the crime. Well, the Founding Fathers were prescient enough that they literally put into Article 1 of the Constitution a ban on bills of attainder. But this is a bill of attainder prosecution because of what Alvin Bragg did on the campaign trail in New York State. As you just said, he literally ran throughout the entire Empire State saying, oh, elect me because I will not back down from filing however many lawsuits against Donald Trump that it takes. It is an absolute outrage. And you know what the great irony is that I saw someone on Twitter say earlier today? The great irony is that if Donald Trump's name were not Donald Trump and he had actually did what Donald Trump jokingly referred to in 2016 and shot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue, Alvin Bragg wouldn't actually bring that prosecution because Alvin Bragg is not actually prosecuting murderers and rapists and burglars and robbers. But this apparently he wanted to throw out the Anglo-American legal tradition to make sure that he got his guy.
Well, it's unbelievable what is, Bragg is saying it was all done by the book, and you've mentioned many times that is not the case. Here we've got a government that's built upon the system that only works when we have a moral and religious populace.
Yep.
I would say we are in great need of a spiritual awakening. Josh Hammer, thank you so much for joining us and all the work you do at Article 3 Project. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.